Make better decisions and live with fewer regrets. I'm Andy Stanley, and I'll be your guide. And today we're talking about the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, our narratives. Remember your high school narrative? My parents are such idiots. School's such a waste of time. And then you grew up and you realize my parents aren't idiots, and school was definitely not a waste of time. But as adults, we tell ourselves similar things. They don't care, it doesn't matter, it won't make any difference. Or how about this one? I don't do exercise, right? The problem with these narratives is that they become excuses and they set us up to become our own worst enemies. So let's stop with all the false narratives, and today I'll tell you how right here on Your Move. Isn't it strange? I don't know if you ever think about this, but because I have to talk all the time, I have to think of things people aren't thinking about so I can make you think about it. So I'll have something to talk about. That's kind of my life, basically. But isn't it strange how we talk to ourselves? Because we all do this, right? We have conversations with ourselves. It's like there's two of us in there, sometimes three. If you have four, I don't really want to meet you. But anyway, these conversations that we have with ourselves, eventually we get down to this really, really big question that we all wrestle with. And this question is why? And here's what we do. Something happens and we think, why did that happen? Then we go to work trying to figure out why it happened. And why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why did this happen rather than that? And this is what I thought would happen, but this happened. And you can't help it. This is so human nature. We have this extraordinary habit, this inclination to impose a reason on randomness. We impose a reason on it. Something happens that doesn't make sense, and our minds just go to work trying to make sense out of randomness. And what we do is we create a narrative. We create our own narrative to basically to make sense of things, right? We create a narrative to make sense of things. In fact, the worse the incident and the more personal the incident, the harder you work and the harder I work to make sense out of that. Because what's undeniable, regardless of your worldview, what's undeniable is that we create and often abide by our self-imposed narratives, whether they are accurate or not, whether they reflect reality or not. And this can be a problem. This can be a problem. In fact, this can lead you, as you have already experienced in your life. This isn't going to be new. I'm just going to put words around something you've already experienced. This can lead you to become your own worst enemy. So today we are in part 2 of our series. If you were here last time, you already know this. How not to be your own worst enemy. Now,
and welcome to Counsel of the Day with Shanrae. I am Shanrae, and we are on week 5. Can y'all believe it? We are on week 5, and this is part 1, and tomorrow night is the last night, and then I won't be back until November of this year. So this month, I have been talking about bad habits and how we can counteract them. Let me add this into the stream right here. Let me add this. All right. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Let me add this. But we are on week 5. So I want to go on and move this along because this is a 30-minute platform. All right. So again, this month we've been talking about bad habits and how we can counteract them. And I've been given a different subtopic every week that I've been on. All right. So I am a degree counselor. And I have acquired dual degrees from Ashford University. My first degree is in psychology. The second one is in organizational management. All right. And my bio, y'all heard it over and over again. I'm not going to go into it. Good evening. Hi, my you doing? Oh, so glad to have you on tonight. And so I'm going to bypass my bio, but I want to open up this website disclaimer very quickly. I'm going to open it and then close it back because this 30 minutes come and go very quickly. So it says, please be aware that due to the nature of the technology that I'm using, there can be no assurance of confidentiality when using this online service. It should also be noted that due to changes in policies, that all replies are to be used as advisory and informational only, and will not constitute an official determination. Information provided by myself will be subject to limitations of current and available material, but the final responsibility for achieving a goal rests with you, the individual. Information online is designed to be helpful. However, this information does change frequently, and it is recommended that you, the individual, will consult a physician, another specialist, and or a religious leader to aid you in your overall behavioral wellness. All right, so we're going to move this along. Good evening, Greta. Hi. This is an open platform, guys. So if you have any questions, I will pause this session. I will pause at any time, answer your questions to the best of my ability. If there's something that I cannot answer, I will research it and then I will get back to you probably via Messenger, or I'll put the answer within this, and you can go and check it a little bit later on. And I'll probably tag you, put your name in it so you'll know that I contacted you. Also, if you don't mind sharing any life experiences, again, I will pause and highlight that. So let's move this along. So this evening, and I am a Christian counselor. So the scripture for the month has come from Philippians 4:23. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me or strengthens us. And it's the New King James Version that I highlighted. Okay, so I am a Christian counselor. And so I'm always going to parallel a lot of the findings and the theories with biblical principles. All right. All right. So tonight, the subtopic for tonight is benefits of good habits. We've been talking about bad behavior, bad habits, and how to counteract them all month long. And tonight's subtopic is the benefits of having good habits. All right, so let's move this along. I always give definition. I'm going to open this a little bit so you can see and then close it back. The main definition for the month has been habit. Defining habit, and it's a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. The second one that I'm defining tonight is called benefits. So the definition of benefits is an advantage or profit gained from something. That's the definition that I chose to use for benefit. All right, so let's move this along. Let's talk about the key points. Let me blow this up a little bit. All right. So the key points tonight that I'm going to be talking about during this session is number one, what is the root cause of all bad habits? We've talked about that throughout the month, different root causes. Number two is why is it important to get rid of bad habits? All right. And the third one is 7 benefits of temporary habits. The fourth one is the value of temporary habits. And then we have our takeaway for the evening. Again, so if you see me looking up and down, I'm looking at different like my tablet, my cell phone, because I'm on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram can see, and LinkedIn can see this as well, and also TikTok, they can see it as well. So I'm trying to see if I can answer questions from either platform. All right, so let's move this along. Let's open this up just a little bit. What is the root cause of all bad habits? And we have really talked about that this month, the different root causes. So it says most bad habits are caused by boredom or stress. Drinking, smoking, overspending, too much time browsing, overeating. All of these activities are your way of entertaining and comforting yourself when you're bored or you're anxious. Now, a lot of y'all, I repeat this a lot. I am an overcomer when it comes to being overweight, being morbid obese. I used to be almost 500 pounds. I tell people all the time, when you see me, you see a miracle, because I was blessed to be able to lose I lost about 300 pounds total. I gained some back due to steroid treatments with medication. But overall, I've lost 300 pounds, over 300 pounds. All right. And so I found out, and I used the tool. God blessed me to get the tool almost 20 years ago, the gastric bypass. and it still worked. You hey Peaches, hi Peaches. And so it takes work to keep it off. But I found out when I went through all my training, my 1 year training before I was allowed to get my surgery, I found out that I was a stress eater. And so when I got stressed out, I just grab anything and start eating. And so I learned that about myself. So this is one of the things, the root causes. Stress causes bad habits, like the researcher or the theorist found out, as well as boredom. So let's move to the next thing here. What is the root cause of bad habits? Let me open this up a little bit. And it said, why is it important to get rid of your bad habits? Okay, let me close this. So bad habits interrupt your life and prevent you from accomplishing your goals. And if you think about it, and listen, this is not targeted at one person. Everybody, there's not one person that doesn't have a bad habit. Bad habits affect us all. And so it says bad habits interrupt your life and prevent you from accomplishing your goals. Let's give an example for procrastination. That is not a healthy habit. Procrastination interrupts your life and it prevents you from accomplishing certain goals and missing out on certain things due to that. For example, and y'all know my life is an open book. Well over 20 years ago, I had an opportunity, and I could talk about it now. I had an opportunity to write a song for the movie Space Jam. And most of y'all know Space Jam. And I had an inside hookup. They were looking for theme music for the movie years ago when it first came out, Space Jam. And so I had to go through that in-house person. So my husband Dupree and I, y'all know we do music together. We got the song together. We recorded it, got all the paperwork and stuff done, submitted the song to the contact person that told us about it. That contact person waited one day too late, the day after the submission was due. They waited. I didn't know that that's how they did things, that they procrastinated. And when they submitted the music, the person who was over the soundtrack got very angry with them and told them that they had to make a choice on yesterday. They chose a song by TLC, but the song that I submitted, that my husband and I submitted, that was the perfect song, what they needed for a specific scene. And because it came one day after the deadline, there was nothing that could be done. They could not choose the song. They could not make it. They already made the decision. They couldn't retract that decision. And it wasn't because of my procrastination, but it was because of someone else's poor habits of being procrastinating. Because again, let me go back business wise. The agreement was if my song got chosen, they would get half of the proceeds because they were the contact that I came through. So we both lost out. Not just us, but they lost out too because it was considered a finder's fee that they would have gotten that they did not get because of their bad habits. So again, this is what it's talking about. Bad habits interrupt your life and prevent you from accomplishing your goals. All right, so they jeopardize your health. Bad habits certainly do, and both mentally and physically. And then they waste your time and energy, and not just your time and energy. It wastes the time and energy of whoever is dealing with you, whoever you're connected to. So this is some of the negative points of not working on your bad habits. Okay, not working to change them. So let's move this on. 7 benefits of temporary habits. Picking up and dropping habits can be beneficial, not a habit failure. So this here study tonight comes by Dr. Alice Boyes, as you all can see. Dr. Alice Boyes. All right. So Dr. Boyes, or Dr. Alice, she says she's translating the principles from cognitive behavioral therapy. That's what I practice. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and social psychology into tips that people can use in their everyday lives. So that's what I do. I practice cognitive behavioral therapy. So what Dr. Alice was talking about, she said it can be easy to consider a temporary habit a failure because it wasn't permanent, but a temporary habit can still add value to your life. And she's going to explain what she means by adding value to your life. Temporarily doing an activity every day can help one decide if that activity really reflects their desire and priorities. So like you said, you don't know about you don't like know if you like it until you try it. That's basically what Dr. Alice is saying here. A temporary habit can help someone build a skill, even if it doesn't need to be continued long term to retain the skill. All right. So when people think of habits, they often consider any habit that's not permanent as a failure. Okay. For example, Jack starts running every day and then he stops. Jack might consider that a habit failure, but in terms of public policy, the goal is also usually for the public to develop permanent habits. For example, recycling or conserving water. However, in ordinary life, temporary daily habits can have a lot of value. All right, so let's move on to temporary daily habits, and let's see what Dr. Alice, her theory, what she's talking about. I'm going to open this up a little bit. The value of temporary habits. Do we have any questions? Because again, I will pause. If you have any questions or anything, just drop it in the chat on the comments box. So number one, we're talking about the value of temporary habits. Number one, this it can help you become efficient. Temporary habits can help you become efficient. So let's say that you take on a temporary habit of making a homemade lunch from scratch every single day. And when you force yourself to do this every day, you'll find ways to become efficient at it. Even if you don't keep up the daily habit forever, you'll still have those efficiency hacks in your toolkit. Okay, unlike hacks that we read about, when you develop your own hacks, you'll know that they work for you personally. They're not gimmicks. For instance, they teach you how to develop your own efficiency skills in a lot more detail than what someone has told you, because you did it yourself. So that's number one. It helps you become efficient. All right, let's move this on. Number two, it helps you clarify your values. Let's open this up. It helps you clarify your values. So when you do an activity every day, it'll help you see whether it really reflects your values, your likes, and your priorities. So when you're actually doing the activity every day, rather than imagining doing it daily, does it seem like you're living your best life? Or does it seem like you don't want to spend a big swath of your life doing that activity? All right, so I'm going to give an example, and I'm so glad that Greta is on tonight. For a season, a few years back, Greta and I used to be walking partners. We would meet up a couple of times in the week, during the week in the evening time, and we would go walking together. And so our schedules got so crazy to where we couldn't do it anymore. Greta kept walking on her own whenever she could around her schedule, and I continued to walk. But starting to walk, it builds skills. Now, of course, during a rainy season down here in the South, it's hard to go walking. You can't really go walking in the rain. So you have to find a different way to get your daily exercise in. That's what happens down here during seasons. But when the season come back around and start walking, although Greta and I, we may not have partnered up together to walk again. Because she started the practice, she still walked on her own, and I still walk on my own. Okay, so this is what Dr. Alice was talking about. It's helping you to become efficient, and it helps you clarify your values. All right, this is an example that Dr. Alice gave as well. She said when she writes most weekdays, it feels really good to her. She feels creatively energized by it, and it makes her life feel on track. And that creative act seems to infuse her life generally with more creativity. In contrast, she says when she goes to the gym every day and she realizes that she doesn't want to be spending her life inside of a dark gym, it makes her realize that she prefers more naturalistic exercises. For instance, like she probably goes walking outside in the park versus going in a dark gym. I can agree with her totally, wholeheartedly. During the rainy season, once again, before I started a jump rope challenge some time ago. So I would jump rope in my house and do like 100 or 200 jumps a day, several times a week until I injured myself. And my doctor told me I had to stop because I'm not a teenager anymore. But I went ahead and I paid monthly for a local gym membership to use their inside track. I could still walk. Oh, but I missed that natural sunlight, that natural breeze, I missed that. It was no comparison. Walking inside of a gym was no comparison to me to walking outside in nature. But it was just a temporary fix until the rainy season was over with down here. So this is what Dr. Alice was talking about, giving her examples. Number three, let's move this on. Number three, and I'm gonna open this up. Number three says distinguish reality versus ideals and the false social messages. Okay, so in our minds, Dr. Alice said, we often think that doing an activity every day with extreme consistency would be ideal. In our minds, that's what we think, for real. At some point, I was saying, if I don't go walking every day, oh my God, it's just not going to be effective, but that's not true. Okay. Sometimes when we attempt to do that activity daily for a sustained period, we learn that it's not sustainable to do it every day, and a frequency less than that would actually be more ideal for us. So in other words, what Dr. Alice is saying, some people they're good, they can do their exercise routine every single day. They have the time, they have whatever. But for most part, most of us adults who have a busy schedule, working, you have life going on and stuff, if you can just get out there 2-3 times a week, go on and walk consistently, that is more of an ideal a realistic type of practice for all of us, whether it's out or in. If we can just again, it's ideal if we can do something like that every day, but realistically, life life is so, whatever, it's just so jumbled up to doing it twice or 3 times a week is just that. It works for us. Okay, so number four, let me turn to this and let me open this up. Number four, it says help you understand how your priorities fit together. This is what Dr. Alice is saying, that temporary habits can help you understand how your priorities fit together. So daily habits are incredibly limited in real estate or in real life. Often it's not so much time that's the limiting factor, but focus and energy on it. So many of us have too many activities we highly value in our lives to do them all every day. For example, Dr. Alice is saying, for example, she homeschools her child. Sometimes she can phone this in. For example, she can print a worksheet with questions and hand it to her. On other days, she needs to devote some time, energy, and attention to helping her manage an aspect of her schoolwork that she's actually struggling with emotionally. For instance, she said her daughter is really a confident reader, but much less confident at writing her own story. So on days that she needs to help her manage her emotions, she will drop some of her personal habits to make room to help her daughter. And sure, technically, she might have time to do both of them, but she might not have the mental energy to do both of them. So when you attempt to do an activity every single day, you'll gain an understanding of how your priorities sometimes are complete. You'll sometimes learn that even through a certain activity is valuable to you and you enjoy it. Doing it daily crowds out other things, though, that are important to you as well. So there is a science and an art to figuring out how you can swap your habits in and out to make enough room for all of your priorities without jeopardizing your habits. Okay, so I'm going to say this in layman's terms: a healthy balance. Peaches said that she agrees. Now, Peaches would know because she is a principal, a high school principal at that. So she is dealing with, you might as well say they're adults, young adults. And for her to have to deal with, because her job is just not 9 to 5. Her job is she's always working as a principal. When school is over, before school starts, she's always dealing. And I'm quite sure she has over 1,000 students she's over, that she manages, that she cares about and stuff. So she can tell you prioritizing is something that you have to do balance, using balance. All right. All right, so let's move on to number 5. This is number 5 out of 7. Okay, number 5 says make behavioral sequences automatic. All right. So habits are effective because they make behavioral sequences automatic and save us from using unnecessary brain power and excess decision making power. All right. Because of this, habits can make behaviors a lot easier. And the more automatic a habit becomes, the less conscious or self-control it requires. So, like a lot of us learned growing up, the more you do something, the better you get. That's good and bad. That's positive and negative. The more you exercise, the better you get. The more you try to ride your bike, the better you get. The more you write, because that's something that everybody does. The more you write, the better you get. Okay? But in a negative sense, the more you lie, the better you get. The more you steal, the better you get. So it goes both ways. All right? And it becomes more, without thought. You don't even got to think about it. Peter said it becomes a routine. Yes, that's exactly what a habit is. It becomes a routine for you. You don't even have to think about it. It just becomes a routine. All right, so back, but and this is a pause that Dr. Alice had put in there, and I want you all to see this. Let me magnify this. But habits do okay. But habits don't need to be permanent to have these benefits. Okay, so let me pull this back down. Dr. Alice said that she used to live in New York City. So did me, so did Peaches, so did Mama Pearl. A lot of us on here used to live in New York. Okay, and she took the subways multiple times almost every day, as you do as a New Yorker, a native New Yorker. Okay, and she said subway riding became an automatic habit. She couldn't. She could have used the ticketing machine and swiped her ticket with her eyes closed. Before entering a subway car, she'd always glance to make sure it wasn't more empty than the other cars, as that was a sure sign that there was a bad smell or the air conditioning was broken in that car, which is true. Most subways in New York have a bad smell, though. You about can't get away from that. So, what Dr. Alice said is that subway riding is enough of an overlearned habit for her, and that when she's back in New York visiting, all her prior learnings they just come right back to her. They take over. So our habits are sometimes the most useful for a season. For example, she said Dr. Alice said that she's currently pregnant. And this is not an old teaching guide. This is a long-term study. But this is a recent article, a PDF that she put out on this. So she's pregnant, and she said when she switched to side sleeping, she started getting a sore shoulder. Her shoulder started becoming sore. And so within a few days of this happening, she reinstated the system of pillows. And so she used the last time that she was pregnant, so that stopped getting her shoulder would stop getting sore. She says she resumed the habit of setting up the pillows upon getting into bed each night. And many of those habits work best as daily habits, but are most useful for specific seasons of your life rather than a lifetime. Okay. She said, what habits are like this for you? And I'm going to pause. I want you to think about this. Hey, Rhonda, it's so good to see you. What habits are just, they just are like this. They happen for you. And Dr. Alice was saying that you might literally have different summer, spring, fall, and winter habits, as an example. Like me, one of my habits in the summertime is I'm going to go to the beauty mart and I'm going to buy a darker color powder for when I do wear makeup in the summertime because I get a tan. So when fall and winter come in, I go back and I get a lighter shade because my skin tone goes back to normal, because it's not as sunny in the wintertime. And so those are some of the automatic habits with me. Okay, this is what Dr. Alice is talking about. All right, so it's useful to keep up temporary habits long enough that the sequence of behaviors involved becomes automatic in your long-term memory. But you don't necessarily need to keep doing the habit every day to maintain that benefit. for it to just be stuck in the back of your mind. It's going to come back up when you need it. All right. So let's move on to number 6 because our time is moving along. And I'm going to magnify this. Number 6 says build a skill quickly. So temporary habits, you can start building a skill very quickly. Dr. Alice says sometimes concentrated learning through daily doing is the best way to build a skill. Once you reach the level of proficiency that you're after, you might not need to do it daily to retain that skill. All right, so that's number 6. Let's move on to number 7. And I'm going to magnify this. Number 7 says, allow the more experimentations. All right, allow for more experimentations. Let me see if anyone has anything to say. All right, so as Dr. Alice said earlier, daily habits are very limited in real life. Even the best daily habits carry an opportunity cost. So trying many different things is good for us. Engaging in a lot of novel activities builds diverse skills and relationships and gives us practice in handling a wide range of emotions. So it's good for creativity and it's typically beneficial for our moods. In other words, novelty builds our resilience in a range of ways. Ultra consistent daily habits can have value for building grit, focus, and discipline. But those strengths are not to be all and end all. Other psychological strengths are important to our success and our happiness. So the number of ultra consistent daily habits that someone can keep up is often more a sign of their privilege than their psychological prowess. So if you get down on yourself because you think that you should keep up more permanent daily habits, then consider temporary habits or habits that you swap in and out instead. Habits that you perform often enough that they become relatively automatic behaviors, sequences can have a lot of value. So if you need to swap some of your behaviors in and out, to make room for all of your priorities, all of your values, and all of your commitments, do not over depend on habit streaks for your motivation, as relying on these can create fragile habits and be bad for your overall psychological health and decision making. So the benefits, these are the 7 benefits of forming habits. Think of them, certain habits, as just temporary. If it's a negative habit that you're trying to swap out, listen, the benefit in a negative behavior, and I'm just talking about temporary, I'm not talking about a lifestyle now. I'm not talking about long term, and I'm not talking about a lifestyle. If it's a temporary negative habit that you picked up, look at it this way: you learned now what not to do. You learn, and so you know that doesn't work for your life. It doesn't work for the lives of the people that you're connected to. You learned from that. You learned that doesn't work, and then you moved on from there. You learned how to switch out that bad behavior for a better one, a more positive one, something that will benefit you and your life, and someone that will benefit the people that you're connected to. The homework assignment that I gave last Monday, it was a couple of questions. And one of the things was, if you have to sit down and think like this every day, take 5 minutes out to think about this every day. If you are practicing a bad or a poor habit that is not beneficial for you or others, your loved ones, think about it this way: how have that benefited you by doing this? How has it benefited other people that you're connected to by you behaving this way? Number 3, how is it helping you? You doing this? Is it helping you? And number 4, is it helping other people that are connected to you? And if you can think about poor habits that way, that should be a motivation right there to help you find a way to switch that poor behavioral habit out for a better one. Something that will not only benefit you, but it'll benefit other people that are connected to you. Another key point that I gave last Monday and last Sunday was, if you have to think about this way: I have to right my wrong. Some people have to just be that adamant with the way you giving yourself a reason to switch out a bad habit for a good one. If you have to say to myself all the time, I have to right my wrong, write it out. Write it out and put it on your mirror in your bathroom. Put it on the wall next to your bed. So that'll be the first thing you see. I have to practice righting my wrong. If that's a tool that will help you become better, something that will benefit your life better, then use it. So, and again, we don't want to think of ourselves as failures. Everybody have bad habits or bad practices. We all of us the same, have to learn how to switch out bad routines for better ones. So these are the two things that I wanted to leave y'all with on this evening before I log off, and I'll see y'all tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, the two things are, number one is, if you have to take out time every day to reflect, take out 5 minutes. Whatever bad habit I performed today, how's that helped me? How's that help the people around me? Or how is it hurting me? How's it hurting the people around me? Or if it makes better sense for you to say, I need to right whatever wrong that I've done. The practice that I need to write it. Those two things, those are two great tools that will help you be more successful and more accomplishment in your lifetime. We only have one life to live. Everybody has to learn and grow, but the key is learn and grow. And I am an optimist. I see things the glass halfway full, not the halfway empty. I sternly believe that we are all overcomers. We can all overcome anything that's negative or anything that has negatively affected us in our life. We are overcomers. It may take a little bit longer to overcome, then some things will take a little bit longer than others. But I firmly believe that we are overcomers, and we can overcome anything negative that have maybe we've practiced or something that has happened to us. All right, so let me move this along. Let's see what this says. Okay, that was number 7. Let's look at the takeaway, and I'm not sure if you can see that, but I'm going to read the takeaway to you. It says, and once you understand that habits can change, you got to first understand that habits can change. You have the freedom and the responsibility to remake them. And this is by Charles Duhigg. This is a quote by Charles Duhigg. And once you understand that habits can change, you have the freedom and the responsibility to remake these bad habits. Again, quoted by Dr. Charles Duhigg. All right, so let me open this up. This is the theory website references. This is where I got my theories from, my teachings. Everything that I present, it is a long-term or longitudinal theory. So it's been proven for 10 years or more. This is not an overnight theory. It is a long-term theory. Okay. And so that's what makes it a legitimate theory, because it's been studied for 10 years or more. All right, let's move this along. All right. So if there's a past counsel of the day with Shanrae, and let me close this, that you've missed or you just want to rewatch, you can go to my YouTube channel at Shanrae Price. Please like, share, subscribe, and then select any past series that you would like to watch. Let me move this along. All right. So I offer professional one-on-one counseling services. Let me open this up. And I am a professional one-on-one counselor. If you're interested in professional one-on-one counseling services, feel free to contact me via Facebook Messenger at Shanrae Cherie Price, or via my email address at shanraecherieprice@gmail.com. I'm a lifestyle strategist, and my aim is to aid you in your life's goals and your life's dreams. Now, let me stop and pause here. I'm a degree counselor. I offered one-on-one counseling. I do not go through insurance. This is the counseling that I offer, and my main study is cognitive behavioral theory. So you're going to get homework. You're going to get stuff like that. We do hands-on things to counteract whatever you may be experiencing at the time, whether it's temporary or long-term. So I offer this. I do not go through insurance. I don't do that. But if you need, from a professional, which is myself, if you need temporary counseling and different tools, contact me. And so I wanted to explain that, because people often ask me that question. And so I wanted to explain that. All right. So thank you so much. Let me open this up. Thank you all so much for participating in Counsel of the Day with Shanrae, August 2022. I'm going to see you all tomorrow night, Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, from 9 to 9:30. And then after tomorrow night, I will see y'all in November. I do this 4 times a year. I do it what is it? Four times a year. I'm trying to think. I think it's February, but I do it 3 months, every 3 months, and I do it for one whole month, and I do 2 days a week for 30 minutes. So tomorrow night will be the final night until I see you all in November 2022. Okay, I want to end this like I ended it last week, and it's just something that I was taught growing up from my grandfather, who's the late great Bishop Jerome Norman. He used to have the whole church say it. He used to have the family say it when we're together. So I'm going to end it with I have to live with myself and the things that I've done. I don't want to come to the setting sun and hate myself for the things that I've done. And then I'm going to add, because I'm a Christian, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Good night. I'll see y'all tomorrow night. Good night.